Brachos Daf divided into four distinct parts. The beginning continues the Gemara's discussion about the habits of David HaMelech in his morning routine and some other things about his kingship. Then the Gemara moves on to the second opinion in our Mishnah, which discussed when the final time for saying Shema is. Afterwards, the Gemara will discuss some other halachos of Ma'ariv, and then the Gemara will finish off with some more agadata about tefillah in general. So let's get started. So we were in the middle of a discussion here in the Gemara about what happened when David HaMelech woke up at midnight and he was learning. And then as the sun rose, the Chachamim came in to speak with him, and they said, Klal Yisrael needs income, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough food. So he had said, go and attack the foreign armies that are in our land, drive them out, and maybe if we get rid of them, we'll be able to increase our own income. So the Gemara had said at the end of Daf Gimel that the Chachamim went and they consulted with Achitophel, who was one of the advisors to David HaMelech. They consulted with the Sanhedrin to ask them if it was a good idea and to get their bracha, and they spoke to the Kohen Gadol and they asked him to consult the Urim v'Tumim to see if this war would be successful in driving out the enemies. So the Gemara, which we will begin with now, picks up looking for a source, a scriptural source, that this is the three groups that they consulted, and that this is the order that they consulted them in. So the Gemara derives it from a pasuk in Divrei Hayamim, which is really discussing something else. The pasuk says the following phrase. It says, "Va'acharei Achitophel Yehoyada ben Benayahu ve'Eviasar sar tzava v'sar tzava lamelech Yoav." So we have listed here four people. We have Achitophel, Yehoyada ben Benayahu, Eviasar, and Sar Tzava HaMelech Yoav, who is the chief of command. So the Gemara says this is the order of the people that they... First was Achitophel. He was a military advisor. He advised them the best way to conduct the war. Then was Yehoyada ben Benayahu, which Rashi has the gears of Benayahu ben Yehoyada, who was the Av HaBeizdin. They went to consult with him and ask for his bracha and ask for the Sanhedrin to be mispal for them. Then Eviasar was the Kohen Gadol, and he would ask the Urim v'Tumim. The Gemara interjects over here and says, how do you know that this was the order? The Gemara says that there's a different pasuk that says, Ubenayahu ben Yehoyada al HaKreisi v'al HaPleisi. First came Benayahu ben Yehoyada, then afterwards was the Kreisi Uplesi, which is another name for the Urim v'Tumim. Gemara says, why does it have that name? Gemara says, because Kreisi, that it has very precise words, and Plesi, that its words were wondrous. Okay, so anyway, so the order was first Achitophel, then it was Benayahu ben Yehoyada, then it was Eviasar HaKohen, and then only afterwards it says V'sar Tzava HaMelech Yoav. Then they went to war, they went to the army, they went to the general, and they started this campaign. Now the Gemara returns to the waking up habits of David HaMelech. The Gemara says, how do we know that he woke up at midnight? We had said that he had a harp strung over his bed, and the harp would play by the wind at exactly midnight, and that woke up the king. The Gemara says, how do we know? The Gemara says, because we have a pasuk, Ura kavaydi Ura haneva v'china ira shachar. Says David HaMelech, I wake up, my glory, the harp and the kina wake me up, and then I wake up the dawn. So David was up before dawn. Now the Gemara returns to the discussion of when midnight is exactly. It said earlier that David knew when midnight was, but Moshe Rabbeinu seemed to not know when it was, because he said that Makas B'charis will happen Kachatzos. So Gemara says, how could that be? So the Gemara now offers a new pshat on that. The Gemara says, no, really, Moshe knew exactly when Chatzos was. And David HaMelech also knew when Chatzos was exactly. If he knew when it was, why did he have to have the harp? Oh, the harp was to wake him up. It wasn't to indicate to him when Chatzos was. And if Moshe knew when Chatzos was, why did he say Kachatzos? Why did he say approximately at midnight? So the Gemara offers two explanations. One, a famous one, either is that he knew exactly when it was, but he was afraid that Paro's people wouldn't know when it was, and then they would calculate midnight incorrectly. And when Makas B'charis happened, off by a second or two according to their calculations, they would say, aha, we caught Moshe, it wasn't midnight exactly. In order to avoid that, Moshe Rabbeinu said approximately midnight. The Gemara says he was following a Talmudic piece of advice. Better say I don't know than make yourself into a fool. Second explanation the Gemara says as to why he said kachatzais is that he was speaking the night before at midnight exactly, and he said kachatzais not approximately, just like midnight now, midnight tomorrow will be makas b'chayros, and he was talking to Klal Yisrael when he said that. The Gemara now begins a new discussion of the habits of David HaMelech. The Gemara says that David was mispalel to Hashem that he should be saved from a tzara. The tzara was, the Mepharshim explain, that Klal Yisrael wanted a king for the wrong reasons, and Shmuel was upset with them when they asked for a king, and he said, you won't live, you won't survive with this, and your king won't either. So David wanted to be saved from that. So he was mispalel to Hashem, and he said, am I not a chassid? Am I not a tzaddik relative to the other kings in the world? So the Gemara asks, what did he mean when he said he was a chassid? What was such a tzaddik about him relative to other kings of the world? So the Gemara offers two explanations as to what he meant. One, that he wakes up early, like we've been saying up till now. Most kings of the world sleep in, and they let the sun wake them up. But David was up before dawn, and he awoke the sun. The second shot is that he said as follows. He said, Hashem, most kings sit on their fancy thrones, and they don't mix into the needs of the people. I'm busy. My hands are filthy with blood, with afterbirths. I'm busy trying to be metaher women to their husbands. I'm occupying myself all the time with these shaylas. And what else? Every question that I have and every shayla that I answer, I consult with my Rebbe. I say, Mephibosheth, my Rebbe. Did I paskin correctly here? Was I mechayev this one? Did I acquit this one? Did I find this one guilty? Was it correct? Was it correct? Was I metaher this one? Was I metame this one? Was it correct? And he always asked, even though he was the king, he says, I was not embarrassed to ask my Rebbe. The Gemara says, how do you see this? The pasuk va'adabra beit v'yisecha neged malachim v'lo eivosh. I'm not embarrassed to ask. Okay, the Gemara follows along with this line of discussion. The Gemara says Mephibosheth, who was the Rebbe of David, his name was not Mephibosheth, his name was Ishbosheth. Why was he called Mephibosheth? Because sometimes he said to David, you're wrong, and that embarrassed him. So Mephi, from his mouth, Bosheth, he created embarrassment for David HaMelech. The Gemara says, because of the special trait that he listened to him, he had a son named Kilov. Who was that? The Gemara says Kilov was, Daniel was his name. He was the son of David. Why was he called Kilov? So the Gemara says, because he embarrassed Mephibosheth. He embarrassed from the word kaleim, to embarrass. He embarrassed Mephibosheth himself, who was Av, who was the leader in Halacha. Two psukim to support this. One, Bini, im chacham libcha yismach libi gamani. If you will be smart, my son, this is Kilu being said by David HaMelech, then I will be happy as well. And the second pasuk is chacham bini v'sameach libi v'ashiva chorfi davar. You were able to answer those foes who stood up against me. The Gemara now goes back to the fact that David said that he was a tzaddik. The Gemara says, is it true that he really thought of himself as a tzaddik? But he says, Lulei hamanti liris b'tuv Hashem be'eretz chayim. If I didn't believe that I would get reward from Hashem, I would not have been able to stick to the Torah. If I didn't believe in my future reward. The Gemara says, why are there two spots on top of the word lulei? What's with these dots? The Gemara says, because he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure if he would get reward. He believed that he would, but he wasn't sure if he'd be zeicha. He said, Hashem, I'm sure that you have reward for tzaddikim. I don't know if I'm counted as one of them. I don't know if I'll be among them. The Gemara explains, he knew that he was zeicha to reward. He knew he was a tzaddik, but he wasn't sure if he may lose it because of averis that he had. Then the Gemara brings two other examples of situations where somebody was promised and sure of reward, schar, but he thought he might lose it because of ched. One of them was Yaakov. Hashem said to him, meaning that you will have schar. And then it says, Yaakov was afraid. So what was he afraid? He was afraid that maybe his averis that he had made him lose his promise of schar. Another one is when Klal Yisrael said, Ad yavar amcha Hashem, Ad yavar amzu kanisa. Two Yavors. These two Yavors of Klal Yisrael refer to the two times that Klal Yisrael entered Eretz Yisrael to build the Beis HaMikdash, the first Beis HaMikdash and the second one. And when is it? They should have been the same. The first Beis HaMikdash was built with miracles. They crossed the Yarden with splitting of the river, and all sorts of other things. The second one should have happened the same way. Kaisal should have been able to burst into Eretz Yisrael in a blaze of miracles, but they didn't. They had to wait for Kairesh, Cyrus, the Persian ruler, to give them permission, and the entire Bayis Sheni, they lived under his thumb, and those kings who followed him. Why? So Gemara says because of the Chait. They were promised again that they would have miracles, but they lost them because of the Chait that they had in their hands. Okay, the Gemara now returns to the Mishnah. The Mishnah had a discussion between three Tanoim, Rabbi Eliezer, the Chachamim, and Rabban Gamliel. When is the latest time one may say Shema? Rabbi Eliezer had said that it's until the first third of the night. The Chachamim said until Chatzais, till midnight. And Rabban Gamliel said until the morning. So the Gemara now analyzes the middle Shita, the Chachamim, who say until midnight. The Gemara says, hold on a second, I don't understand this. We have to be understanding the pasuk that says B'shach b'cha uvkumecha. You're supposed to say Shema when you go to sleep. What does it mean when you go to sleep? If he learns like Rabbi Eliezer that it means when people are getting into bed, so then he should agree with Rabbi Eliezer's shita, and he should say you have until the first third of the night. After that, whoever's getting into bed is already in bed. And if he holds like Rabbi Gamliel that it's as long as people are asleep, so then let him say until the morning. Why does he say until midnight? The Gemara says he agrees with Rabbi Gamliel, and really you have until the morning. But Midrabanan, the Rabbanan said your deadline is until Chatzais. You cannot say further than Chatzais because we're afraid if we let people say until the morning, they'll end up missing it. It's different than Rabban Gamliel, who said you could still say it if you missed it at midnight. He says you cannot say it. Chazal took away the time till the morning, and they say you have to say it by Chatzais, final time. If you missed it, you cannot say it anymore. The Gemara now brings a brisa to support that this is the reasoning of the Chachamim. The brisa says as follows: a person should not think that he could do whatever he wants. Chazal made a fence for their words to keep people from Avera. What's the fence? A person should not come in from the field and he could say, oh, I'll go home, I'll eat a little bit, I'll snooze a little, I'll rest a little, then I'll get up, I'll daven Ma'ariv. In the meantime, he's going to fall asleep and sleep until the morning, and he's going to lose this man. What should he do? He should go to the base medrash right from the fields. He should wait for learn a little, whatever you like to learn. Then he should say Shema, and then he should daven Ma'ariv. The order is important. It says first Shema and then Shemona Esrei of Ma'ariv. Then he should eat a little bread, and then he should say Brachos Daf, and then he can go to sleep. The Gemara adds, and by the way, the Brisa adds, anybody who violates the words of Chazal is Chayav Misa. So the Gemara says, hold on a second, how come this time when we're discussing a words of Chazal, we say that if you violated Yechayiv Misa, what about in other instances? How come we said it over here? The Gemara says two reasons why over here we had to add this special strength and support to the words of Chazal. One of them is because it's hard to avoid sleep. People at the end of a long workday are tired, they want to sleep, so we have to encourage them. Do not take Chazal's words lightly. The other one is that there are people who think that Ma'ariv is a reshus. You don't have to dive. You don't have to say Ma'ariv if you don't want to. We want to make sure that everybody understands. It's not a reshus. It's a chayva. It's very important. The Gemara now launches into a discussion that is somewhat different but related. The Gemara wants to know what is the proper order for saying Ma'ariv. Is it first Shema and then Shemona Esrei, first Shemona Esrei and then Shema? So the Gemara says it's a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Rabbi Yochanan says you have to say first Shema and then Shemona Esrei because it has to be first Geula and then Tefillah. Geula, the end of Shema, discusses Geulas Mitzrayim, and then afterwards we have the bracha Ga'al Yisrael, which discusses Geula, and then you go from there into Shemona Esrei, and a person should go from Geula to Tefillah. Just like in the morning by Shachris, we go from Geula to Tefillah. First Shema, and then we have Ga'al Yisrael, and then we go into Tefillah. The Gemara says that is the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Shua ben Levi disagrees. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says no. Geula Tefillah is only in the morning. But the three Shemona Esreis of the day are sandwiched between Shmas. First Shema is before the first Shemona Esrei of Shachris, then comes Mincha without any Shema in between, then comes Ma'ariv without any Shema, and then after Ma'ariv Shemona Esrei we say Shema. So it ends up that there's no Geula Tefillah at Ma'ariv. So the Gemara says, so we have a proof to the Shita of Rabbi Yochanan from the Brisa that we quoted before, where it says the person should go to Shul and he should say Shema and then Ma'ariv. The Gemara says, what is this machlokes based on? The Gemara says either it's a svara or a pasuk. What's the svara argument? The svara is when exactly did Geulas Mitzrayim happen? Geulas Mitzrayim really started at night. That was when Paroi told them to leave, but they said, we're not going to leave until the morning. So they left in the morning. So the real Geula was during the morning. So you for sure have to have Geula L'Tfilah in the morning. What about at night? Is that when they were first said that they are free, they should leave? Does that count as part of Geula, and therefore they should have it at night also? Rabbi Yochanan says yes. Rabbi Eliezer says no. What's the argument about the pasuk? So they both argue how you dash in the pasuk b'shachbacha uvkumecha, which puts sleeping and getting up together. When you go to sleep, when you wake up. Rabbi Yochanan says they go together, and you learn one from the other. Just like in the morning you have Geula and then Tefillah, at night you also have Geula and then Tefillah. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says no. Just like in the morning, Shema is closer to when you are asleep, because first you get out of your bed and then you say Shema and then you say Shemona Esrei. At night also, Shema should be closer to your bed. You should first say Shemona Esrei, then you should say Shema, and then afterwards you go to sleep. The Gemara brings a raya to Rabbi Shua ben Levi. The Gemara says we say Hashkivenu. If you have to have Geula Tefillah, Hashkivenu interrupts. The Gemara says, what do you mean Hashkivenu is part of a Geula? It's all considered one long Geula. And the right is that in the morning, you start Shemona Esrei, you say Hashem Sefasai Tiftach Ufiyah Gid Tehillah Secha. Why is that not interrupting between Geula, Gal Yisrael, and Tefillah Shemona Esrei? Because it's considered to be an extension of Shemona Esrei. So extensions don't interrupt. Hashkivenu is an extension of Geula, and Hashem Sefasai is an extension of Shemona Esrei. The Gemara now launches into a discussion of the miles of saying Ashrei. The Gemara says, somebody who says Ashrei, the Gemara refers to it as Tehillah L'David, which is really how the capital begins. Ashrei is the end of the capital before. The Gemara says, one who says it 3 times a day is for sure a Ben Olam Haba. Says the Gemara, what's the reason? The Gemara has 2 possibilities. Either it's because the psukim are organized in the order of the Aleph Beis, or it's because of the pasuk Poisech Es Yedecha Umasbir L'Chol Chai Ratzayin, which is a very heilige phrase. So the Gemara says they both can't be, because each one exists somewhere else. The Aleph Beis order you also find in Kapitel Kuf Yud Tes. So why don't you say that somebody who says that 3 times a day has a special schus to be an Olam Haba? And Poseach Es Yedecha, you find something very similar in Hal Hagadol. Hal Hagadol is the capital in which everything ends with Kilelim Chazdei. Over there you have a very similar phrase. You have Neisen Lacham L'chol V'asar Kilelim Chazdei. So that's just as good. So Gemara says, no, what's special about Ashrei is that it has both factors together. It has the Aleph Beis order, and it has Poseach Es Yedecha. The Gemara says, hey, there's no nun in Ashrei. How come nun was left out? The Gemara says because if there would be a nun, it would be Nafla V'Laisayisif Kum B'Sulas Yisrael. You have fallen B'Sulas Yisrael, the Virgin of Israel. You will not get up again. We didn't want to include a pasuk which refers to Klal Yisrael falling and never arising again. The Gemara says in Eretz Yisrael they interpreted the pasuk differently. They said Nafla Loisayisif, don't fall anymore. Kum B'Sulas Yisrael, get up. B'Sula of Yisrael. The Gemara says even though we left that pasuk out of Ashrei, but we followed up with what follows it. Hashem will pick up all those who fall. The Gemara now compares the flights of Malachim. The Gemara says the Malach Michal, as seen by Yeshayahu, could fly in only one swoop, like it says Vaya'of Elai. But the Malach Gavriel had to stop and rest in between, because by him it says Mu off, be off. He had to fly twice. The Gemara says Eliyahu Hanavi would fly in 4 sets, and the Malach HaMavis has to fly in 8 sets. Each additional one is because they had to wait for people to have a chance to do tshuva. The Gemara says at the Shas Magefa, when there's a plague happening, the Machamavas can fly in only one swoop. It says there's a thing called Kriyash Ma'alamita. Even somebody who's a tzaddik should say Kriyash Ma'alamita, that Hashem should protect him at night. What's the source? You should say Tefillah at night. The Gemara says the Talmid Chacham doesn't have to, because he's thinking and is learning when he lies down. Says Abaya, a Talmid Chacham should still say at least one thing, like Biyadchaf Yeruchi Padisi Oisi Hashem Kel Emes.